So bits are never going to get harder to copy. That's a true thing that I know to be true and that I believe will be true forever. There is we started with looms that embodied information, and we went to piano rolls that embodied information, and then we went to computer bootstraps that embodied information, and then from there to platters, to floppies, to zip cartridges, iPods, mini SD cartridges. We now take information that we used to store in rooms or warehouses that we used to consider to be incalculably large, and we store it in cards that we buy for $30 in blister packs hanging at the point of sale at Radio Shack. And the cards themselves are the size of your thumbnail. We had Roman roads that passed as networks, and then semaphore, and then telegraphs. We had radio and telephones, modems, DSL modems, Wi-Fi, broadband, metro WAN. Networks just get faster and faster. There's no future in which hard drives get larger, less capacious, more expensive, harder to use, harder to find. There's no future in which networks are going to be harder to log into, slower, more expensive, dumber, more likely to drop your packets as they move along. From here on in, it just gets easier and easier and easier to copy bits. Indeed, if bits got harder to copy, it would mean something genuinely catastrophic had happened to the human race. I mean, we're talking about nuclear holocaust here in order to make bits harder to copy. So there are efforts underway to try to make bits harder to copy. The largest and most prominent one of these is something called digital rights management, or some would have it digital restrictions management. Thank you. Digital rights management is the technology that's used to restrict how you use material that's delivered to you digitally, to make your bits harder to copy, a little less fluid as they slosh around inside your general purpose computer on your general purpose work. So digital rights management is built on something that I have infinite respect and admiration for, cryptography. Cryptography is a subject that's very fraught in the early history of the internet, which is to say something that happened about 15 years ago back in the Paleolithic age when the internet was powered by pterodactyls. Back then, there was a conceit that codes, really good codes, codes that could keep secrets so well that you could mathematically demonstrate that once a secret was enciphered with those codes, that it could take 1,000,000 or 1,000,000,000,000 years to decipher those codes without knowing the password, without knowing the key, that those codes should be classed as munitions, and that the ability to export and reuse codes should be limited to people who were licensed to export and reuse munitions. And this was bad news for anyone, for example, who wanted to be able to ensure that the credit card information you transmitted from here to Amazon wasn't intercepted en route by someone who would use it to steal your identity, or to be sure that your banking information was kept secure. More mundanely, that your individual transactions between you and your colleagues were secure and not snooped on. After all, we don't just want privacy because we might be doing something wrong. When we go and evacuate our bowels in the bathroom, we're not doing something immoral, but many of us would hesitate to do it here in front of a crowd, right? There's plenty that you just don't want seen. There's a reason we put our letters in envelopes. And so there was a protracted legal battle, mostly between the National Security Agency and the Electronic Frontier Foundation as proxies for these two points of view about bits. And Electronic Frontier Foundation, my former employer, brought a lawsuit on behalf of a Princeton mathematician, or a mathematician who later ended up at Princeton named Dan Bernstein, who'd written a scholarly article about ciphers. And in that scholarly article was enough information to let you build a cipher stronger than the one the National Security Agency considered to be robust enough for civilian use, a cipher called DES 40. And we brought a suit on his behalf to defend his First Amendment right to talk about math and print. And we won. And the wall came down, right? Tear down that wall, Mr. Spook. We brought it down, and crypto became widespread. And today, every time you bought something over the internet, every time you've had a secure conversation over the internet, every time your bank has kept your details secure, it's because we have broad access to crypto.